Hey everybody, Jake Reichbart here. Today I'm going to share with you a lengthy lesson excerpt. So have your guitars ready and we're going to have some fun together arranging a song. Perhaps you've seen some of my many hundreds of solo guitar arrangements I have here on YouTube, and the inspiration for these arrangements is right here behind me, as you can see. I grew up with these vinyls, and I draw pretty much from any kind of style imaginable, from the pop music of the past 100 years, everything from Glenn Miller to Van Halen, Alan Holdsworth to Motown, and pretty much anything in between. Beatles, I have perhaps 25 Beatles song arrangements, 20 Steely Dan song arrangements, same for Stevie Wonder, rock, hard rock, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, and of course tons and tons of classic jazz standards from the 40s and 50s, bebop, dance tunes, movie themes. And if you want to learn how to arrange any of these songs for solo guitar, I can teach you. Just like the excerpt that you're about to watch, which comes from a lesson that runs about 90 minutes, I have nearly 200 additional titles, and they are mostly song specific. I enjoy teaching through specific songs because I can show you hands-on how I approach arranging a song. What's nice about these lessons is that I don't just tell you, do this and you're done, but rather I'll take you through 3 or 4 or 5 different ways to play the same passage. I'll work with you on dynamics, on articulation, and 100 other things that you cannot just put to paper. As I mentioned, these lessons run approximately 90 minutes. The introduction, which runs usually 15 minutes, focuses on the right hand in rhythm, and in this introduction I go through my 3 pillars of rhythmic arranging, the first principle being melody and bass only, the second being rhythmic arpeggiation, and the third, of course, the down stroke that I play with my right hand fingernails to produce that backbeat that everybody asks me about. Nevertheless, I do have 2 main method lessons. The first one, how to arrange any song for solo guitar, running 2 hours, and also an introduction to fingerstyle guitar and solo guitar arranging, running 2 hours and 40 minutes. The information about these lessons, the cost, my full lesson list, as well as a link to the full performance of the song that we're working on today is below in the information. So expand the information, take a look, and let's get started. I play this arrangement in the key of C, which, as far as I can tell, is quite a bit of a stock key. A lot of people play in this key. The arrangement is definitely transferable to other keys, but nevertheless we'll focus now on what I have been doing. And without any introduction, I start right on it. And my first position is a bar position in the 3rd position. And I hold the C bass note on the 5th string 3rd fret down, and along with it, I hold down the B on the 3rd string 4th fret, E on the 2nd string 5th fret, as these two as chord notes, as I mentioned early on. And the melody is the A and G on the 1st string frets 5 and 3. So I'll hit these notes together. Again, the notes are C, B, E, A to G. And you can hear the syncopation right there. This note is syncopated in that it lies on an 8th note right in between 2 non-syncopated bass notes. Without moving my first finger, it's kind of an anchor at this point, I change positions with my left hand to play what looks like, and well, it really is, a C sharp diminished chord. But what it really is an A7 in disguise, in that it is an A7 flat 9 with a 3 in the bass. But it's nice to play this chord because the bass note is right along the way from the C to the D, which is going to be my next chord. So instead of doing possible to do that as well, but it's a little bit of a jump with a bass note, so it's very smooth to play through the C sharp. And what are the notes here? C sharp on the 5th string, 4th fret. The G note on the 4th string, 5th fret. B flat on the 3rd string with my 1st finger. 3rd string, 3rd fret. And the E remains from the previous chord on the 2nd string, 5th fret. And again, how is this an A7? Well, the C sharp is the 3rd of the chord. The B flat is the flat 9 as it relates to A. Then, so again, the 3, the 7, the flat 9, and the 5. The E is the 5. And in fact, you could take advantage of both of these and play. You could play alternate bass notes. I mentioned earlier that I typically will do, or I have done so far. I've repeated the bass notes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but there's no saying that I have to do that all the time. Or and we'll see how to do that in a moment. And a word about the arpeggiation now, as I mentioned in the introduction. Those are my rhythmic notches helping me illustrate the time better. So there's really no melody on this chord, so I try to pluck the notes softer. Until the next melody portion comes in. So dynamics are extremely important here, because playing this at one volume and these arpeggiate note at a different one helps put out the melody, emphasize what the melody is. All right, so 3rd position is a D minor in the 5th position. It's a bar on the 5th fret. I play the notes D on the 5th string, 5th fret, A, 4th string, 7th fret, C on the 3rd string, 5th fret, and the E, that's an F on the 2nd string, 6th fret. It's a very stock drop 2 kind of shape. Doesn't matter what drop 2 means right now. It's a type of a voicing. So that's an exercise you can do right there. Just play 1, 2, 3, 4, and then and you notice that my pattern for arpeggiating the chord is completely random. I don't have anything pre-planned. It is simply randomly arpeggiated notes. All right, the next section. I'm in heaven. Before going to there again. Now my shape is it looks, again, when I say it looks like, all these chords to me, yes, they have an image. If you take a photo of them, you can say, this is what such and such chord looks like. But I always look at the function of the notes rather than viewing these as precise shapes. Never mind. The shape here, as it were, is a G13th, meaning that I have G in the bass. It's a G7th kind of a chord. My first finger holds down the G on the 6th string, 3rd fret, as well as the F on the 4th string, 3rd fret, the B on the 3rd string, 4th fret, and on the 2nd string I play the melody, which is going to be the E and the F. notes together, starting with this position, G, F, B, and E, and then add the F. Now you can play all 4 notes together and let the 2 middle notes, the 2 chord notes, sustain. You don't necessarily want to repluck everything. There's no need to do that. The art of playing solo guitar is not to necessarily play all the notes all together all the time, grab everything at the same time with the right hand, but rather let some of them sustain, some of them ring into each other, start a new note while a previous note is still ringing, and that kind of thing creates a more pianistic approach rather than grabbing everything again. So these 2 chord notes can just sustain. I'm not changing anything. I did mention that I can switch bass notes. So in this case, I played the G and then added the B, which is an alternating bass note. The B is the 3rd of the G chord, and it's approach note to the next C note. And if I wanted to, I can just play these 2 notes. That's all I need, really. The B and the F. See, I mentioned this in the introduction. Just a melody and a bass note is enough to illustrate everything. And even if you're playing a full arrangement and intend to play all the chords, every once in a while, if you actually end up only playing a bass and a melody, it won't take away anything from the arrangement. Actually, I think it will enhance it. Not having to play full chords all the time and just spacing it out and airing it out, giving it a little bit more air, is a very attractive thing, I think. So, this is a little bit tricky because you want to catch the next A note. It's syncopated. So actually you hit it even before you go to the next C. This G is still ringing. It happens before the next C comes in from the top. And again, another spot where you can just focus on the bass note and melody notes and just not worry what you're doing with the chord notes until you find a chord position that is more comfortable to grab the chord notes and not worry about, am I grabbing all the chord notes or not? So at this very instant, right there at that, when it switches from the G back to the C, there might be an instant where we're only hearing the G, the A, and that melody G again until you're ready to re-grab this C chord. So at that instant, it's very micro, really. You have to magnify it really with a magnifying glass, or in this case, slow it down to really hear that there's an instant where not all the chords are being played. So that is okay. That is the point that I'm trying to make here. That it is okay to do that. Continuing with the song, this entire line repeats now again. So we have this twice. Moving on to the next section.